Everybody, I've got Scott Hurt with me here today. We are going to go over and talk about the latest Waterline that Wargaming put out. So let's get over and we'll do the news. Hello and welcome to Clyde Plays News. With me in the studio, Mr. Scott Hurt. Scott, say hi to the people.
Whammy!
I was waiting for it. Whammy indeed. Guys, we have we've recently had a new Waterline video land, this one for autumn 2023, and we're going to watch it. It's about 11 minutes long, so hopefully we can get the thing watched here and kind of commentate and talk about what we see on the screen. Scott, are you ready to go?
I can't wait to see how Stacy and what's his name are doing.
Stacy and Emil.
Emil, yeah.
Spoiler
yeah,
alert, some people have seen this video already, myself included. But let's get into it. Let's go.
Hello, captains, and welcome to the latest.
Actually, real quick, can the people at home hear the sound that plays when I hit play? Could you hear Matija? Waiting for a response from chat. All right, Hershey's got it. Okay, good deal. We're going to start it fresh then. Let's go.
Hello, captains, and welcome to the latest edition of the Waterline.
Greetings, commanders. In this episode of Waterline, we will tell you about World of Warships development plans for the summer and autumn of 2023.
Disclaimer: no maritime fauna.
First of all, this guy has got the hat. And he's wearing the hell out of it. And that jacket, looking dapper. Moving on.
Whales, birds, or dolphins were hurt in the making of this video.
Spanish cruisers, the first full branch for destination in the game, appeared in testing in update 12.4. This summer, early access to this branch will begin.
In the summer, new superships will be added to the tech tree: British battleship Devastation and Soviet supercruiser Novosibirisk. These two ships represent a continuation of the gameplay style of Conqueror and Petropavlovsk, respectively.
In future updates, we will introduce strategic operations.
Okay, so a quick recap there. They just announced a couple of things that we already know about, right? We know the Spanish heavy cruiser line is coming, and we know the two superships that have been in test, the Novosibirsk and the Devastation, are on their way. So I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about there. If you don't know these things are coming, there are dev blog articles about them. There is a previous episode of Clyde Plays News. You can find that elsewhere on my YouTube channel. But definitely, that's like kind of like a recap of news that's already been announced. And now they're going to talk a little bit about strategic operations, which I had to watch this part a couple of times to kind of understand what they were talking about. Maybe I just wasn't paying good enough attention, but let's give it a watch and we'll see what happens here.
A new type of mechanic that will be used in various events. Each player participates in strategic operations individually with no competition with other players. Visually, strategic operations represents a virtual battle map divided into areas. The player chooses one of the areas, after which they begin to earn capture points for completing combat missions. Once an area is captured, the player receives a reward and can move on to capturing other nearby areas. Areas will differ in composition and difficulty of combat missions, as well as rewards.
Okay, that's the description of that section. Now, I guess, I don't know, Scott, if this has been in testing or not, or how much you're free to talk about it. I don't know if you've seen it. This was the first I'd heard of it.
I will say right now, I do not believe I have tested this yet. It sounds kind of bonkers, and I feel like I can say I haven't tested it yet because I don't think I've tested it yet. And if I have, then it was named something different.
Right, right. So they have something like this in World of Tanks. And in World of Tanks, they call it, I think it's called campaigns, which we already have a different thing called campaigns. And what it is it's a mission that looks like the German front of World War II. And as you, and the way they do it in tanks, and there is no guarantee, this is the way it'll be in World of Warships. But as you complete different sections, different chunks of this mission, you advance on this battle map. and you collect parts of, I think, like a Stug or Stug, right? I don't know how to pronounce that in German, but that tank destroyer. And then when you get done, you get a premium tank. Now, I don't believe that it's going to be similar to that. When I listen to these guys describe it, to me, it sounds like our campaigns. It sounds like a battle pass. It sounds like a dockyard. It sounds like a new way to graphically represent progression through a multi-stage mission of some kind with rewards. I don't think it's that special, but it's maybe a new way to kind of package a progressive mission.
That's what I thought. I thought it sounded like a new type of dockyard or in between dockyards, or we used to do when they would do a new line introduction, we'd have that like event that went on where you had the bar and you picked a team and you built up whatever. It was like for the next hour, get as many secondary hits as you can, and then you got points and you moved up the meter. We haven't had one of those in a long time. I feel like they've gone away from that as a thing.
Like the big team event sort of deal.
I don't remember the last time we had one, but it feels like it hasn't been since the cutover. And so this to me sounds like a thing. Now, what you described in tank sounds really cool. I can assure you in our game, what it will be is a thing that you use to earn a weird new currency.
Or gray bonuses.
That at the end, gray bonuses and a weird new currency, and that at the end of, you can take that currency along with $100, the more common currency, and exchange it for some ship. That'd be my guess, because there doesn't seem to be any kind of pathway to anything, that I would deem generous anymore. So maybe I'm just projecting there, but.
Maybe. I mean, I think it's probably going to be something that's similar to the old campaigns we had, wrapped up in a new bow. I don't think there may or may not be money involved. This could just be a new way to give us missions that's got a cool looking GUI. We used to talk about, or people have often mentioned, even recently, hey, we should get a new campaign for these new things. That'd be kind of cool. On the live stream today, I kind of watched, or on a previous live stream, a recent one, I think it was a week ago, they mentioned a new commander for the Pan-Euro line. He's a Turkish commander. I didn't get all the details there, but I could see them putting something cool like that in there to kick off the first one. And then after that, having it be a little more mundane. Maybe you get camos, you get boxes, you get, something like that. I'm not sure what to expect of it, but I thought it was kind of worth highlighting the idea.
Yeah.
A similar concept exists a lot, but who knows what it's going to be.
I bet it looks like that, like the concept you're familiar with in Watt. I bet it's similar, since they are
related companies.
As you'll learn later in this video, those guys are all sitting in the same room now.
They're co-located, right?
And so I'm guessing in the exciting lunchroom, they might have, hey, why didn't you guys ever put this in your game? Oh, let's do that, right? And so I could see that. And honestly, you think about the rate at which we get dockyards, right? There isn't constantly a dockyard. Dockyard's like a 3-month thing, because we have like, it lasts like the first month, then there's the second month, and you can still do the missions, and then there's a third month where it doesn't go away, and it's just there, and so that you can get FOMO and whale into it if you didn't finish the missions and you're just sitting there looking to buy it, right?
Yeah.
And then we've been doing like, I feel like we've been doing like 3 dockyards a year, and I feel like there's probably a month where they feel like there isn't something that is baiting us into playing more, right? So this sounds like a kind of thing that's similar to that.
Yeah, and time will tell if there's any funding exchanged or any actual money exchanged in this, or if it's just a way to keep your eyes glued to the screen. We'll see. But I think with that, let's roll on to this next section about the Lüshun.
Construction of the Tier 10 Pan-Asian destroyer Lüshun at the Taiku Dockyard will begin in the summer. Lüshun is armed with 4 130mm Maine battery guns, which, due to their flat ballistics, allow for easy long-range firing, but do not have high damage per minute. Unlike researchable Pan-Asian destroyers, she is equipped with standard torpedoes located in 2 5-tube torpedo launchers. They feature a large number of torpedoes per salvo, but a low range. The ship can also boast good concealment. In spite of her lacking engine boost, her arsenal of consumables is still pretty decent. It is made up of hydroacoustic search, smoke generator with short smoke screen dispersion time, and torpedo reload booster in different slots.
Okay. And now he said Lüshun, like a little accent on the first U. What do you think about this? We've long talked about wanting to have another destroyer dockyard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited that the next Dockyard finally has a destroyer. I think
And a
we
tier 10
speculated,
as well.
yeah, we speculated maybe Halford would be like a Dockyard destroyer because it was kind of funky.
Hmm.
And don't want to spoil future news that you're going to do later, so I won't talk about Halford. But yeah, neat. Destroyer in a Dockyard. They've only ever done it once before. I can't talk about Lüshun any more than that.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll just kind of highlight some of the things they said in there. They talked about the consumables. No speed boost on this one. It has torpedo reload booster, hydroacoustic search, and I think they said short burst smoke. So similar. It's gonna play, or I mean, it seems to have the same equipment as like a Siliwangi does, or Siliwangi. And so that's kind of interesting. Although unlike Siliwangi, I think they said it has standard torpedoes, not deep waters. And so we'll see a little bit more about this ship, obviously, as it comes forward. Now, we talked about dockyards already. One of the things that a dockyard is, if you strip away all of the trimmings and trappings and the things that make it seem exciting and fun, first of all, a dockyard is a progress bar with a cool graphic package wrapped around it. And then at the end of the day, what the dockyard is for a player is a discount on a premium ship. So typically what that means is usually you have to buy like 3 or 4 sections. Roughly that typically equates to about a $20 investment plus a bunch of time to grind dockyard missions if only you buy those last sections. Obviously you've got the boosters at the beginning. There's a lot of ways that makes this kind of intricate, but remember that a dockyard is not a free ship. It's a reduced price premium ship. And I guess we'll see what comes of Lüshun as we learn more about it. Again, I'm excited to have a dockyard destroyer. It's cool that it's a tier 10. It's been a long time since we've had a tier 10. I think Puerto Rico is the only one I can think of, right? So
yep,
that's
it'll be
pretty
interesting
exciting.
to see how many stages there are in the dockyard because it's a tier 10.
Yes, what's the cost going to be to the player?
Yeah, I
at the
think
end of the
it'll
day?
be. I think stages will probably cost 1,500 dubs a pop because that seems pretty normal. But the number of stages on a tier 10 dockyard is usually exceptionally grindy.
Yeah.
And I'm Bowmaster says 79 stages. Okay. And so is there usually
maybe,
this
maybe.
I'm guessing this dockyard will hit in 12/6, 12/5 is going to be 4th of July or Independence Day in the US, that patch.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
12/6 will be the one, and then 12/7 will be the birthday patch. And usually the dockyard that we get at the end of summer runs into birthday. The second half of it's like in the birthday month. So I think it'll probably ride through that time frame.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But I mean, I don't think it would be unreasonable to think that this one's going to have more dockyard stages than what we've seen with our tier 9 and tier 8 dockyards. So expect that.
Very much expect that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I know you do, but just for anybody watching at home, playing the home game, as it were, expect that. But it is a destroyer. So Wargaming tends to price destroyers cheaper than cruisers, which are cheaper than battleships, which are cheaper than aircraft carriers. But I don't know how well that translates through the dockyard filter. So I suppose we'll see. But moving on to our next section here.
As we shared in a previous Waterline, we plan to bring back the aircraft carriers that were removed from the game in update 8.0, but with a distinct gameplay concept and new mechanics for their squadrons. The first mechanic is minefields. A player controlling these planes can place a minefield in a certain area on the map. Enemy ships and submarines take damage when they come in contact with mines and the mines explode. The second mechanic is airborne smoke generator. It creates a smoke screen behind the planes as they fly. The smoke screen can be quite long, but will quickly disperse. In one of the summer updates, we will introduce a special temporary battle type where players will be able to try out these mechanics on analogs of the already existing aircraft carriers in the game. Based on the results, we will analyze how we can bring these new mechanics with new aircraft carriers.
I'm going to back this up just a little bit.
Where players will be. The smoke screen can be quite long, but will quickly disperse. In one of the summer updates, we will.
In one of the summer updates, he says. Okay, so no more specific than that. So what we're talking about here are we called these the support carriers before. There were some mechanics that they talked about last time. These were kind of on the development plate. That people were uncomfortable with, stun bombs, things like that. And so obviously those things have gone away. What they've kept are the smokescreen concept and the minefield concept. Now, Skada's probably less able to talk about this than me. I don't know actually what your rules are there, but so I'll
Well,
speculate a little, or if you've got something, go ahead.
I can't talk about the mechanics, but I can talk about the concept, right? And I think when they announced the idea, it's been a really long time.
Right. It's been a
The
while.
idea part of the idea is asset reuse, right? It's to finally bring back the carriers that were removed, that were the odd tier carriers, right? So like Essex and Bogue, and one of the other ones was like, what are the Japanese ones? Like
was a Japanese
Zuyu.
one. There was a
Yeah.
bunch. I can't remember all their names, but
And so I think the intent is, from that point of view, is resurrect those assets and get them back out into the field. And I think they'll end up changing them, because I don't think they're going to be odd tier carriers. I think they've said they'll end up being just different carriers. It'd be like an IJN and a US carrier line split. As far as the mechanics, from the dev blogs, since they went back, like all the way back to when they tried to start doing this, yeah, like you said, they talked about doing different stuff, stun bombs.
yeah,
Smoke
they tried some
screens.
things, right? Yeah.
I think there was a thing that that was basically like a chaff cloud that they talked about that would nullify radar.
Yeah. I
Um,
like
which
the
I
idea
thought
of having a
sounded-
way to
I thought
counter
that
radar.
sounded really cool. I thought that sounded really cool.
I love it.
And then minefields, and then you know, obviously when we had the duck hot tubs with mines,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I talked back then about how, like, well, this is so, get used to this. This is how they test weird things, folks. Like, they test new mechanics in weird modes like this, right?
Yeah.
So as far as more than that, though, like as far as like how it works, I can't talk about it any more than that.
No, that's fine. I appreciate you kind of recalling what you could from the historics, right? What was on the dev blog
Yeah.
before and everything. Helmet mentioned in here, same as the Ducks minefield. I think, I don't know if it's going to be exactly the same, obviously.
Yeah.
They're not going to crap out of a rubber duck. We know that much for sure. But the
Yeah, I don't-
concept that they'll be similar, or that was a test, should be something that we as players understand. Go ahead.
Again, I don't want to jump to possible other things you're going to do news on today, but I did see there was a dev blog today that talked more about how it'll work.
Yeah, I do
and
have that one. on the queue
showed some
here.
assets, and so it briefly, at least as far as the minefield, it said it was going to be kind of like a you call it in almost like depth charges or a Dutch airstrike, where you're going to like place a thing and call it in, and assets aren't even going to come from the carrier. They're going to come from off map, or wherever, and
okay.
go lay mines is what it looks like, is what they were announcing in that blog that I read. So
Yeah.
kind of a different mechanic in that way. It makes me wonder why it even needs to be a feature of a carrier
Yeah, that
if
could
you're
be
not
applied
actually
to any
doing
ship.
it.
Yeah.
If you're not actually doing it with a carrier, like why load it onto a carrier? But they have wanted to get those assets back in game for quite a while, it seems like. So
I suppose the possibility there, and I haven't read that other article yet, although we are going to cover it a little later in the stream. I suppose that that possibility is that the carrier could go and paint that, that zone anywhere where we want to drop those things. Whereas with a regular ship, it might be hard to see places that are far flung across the map. Depends on what they make available for ranges. And I think a lot of those things are probably still up for debate and discussion, or maybe up for us to wait and see what happens. But regarding these mechanics, I do think the minefield thing is interesting. I think it may be also at times a little frustrating for players who are stuck in a minefield or who find themselves near one. And then I do think the smoke concept is interesting as well. I think of the things they talked about before, these two are the ones that kind of readily have a home in the game a little more naturally. I think the concept of dropping a minefield to block a narrow waterway or something is really interesting and could change up some of the way that we play World of Warships. It will be frustrating for people with 10,000 battles who are like, hey, there's not supposed to be mines right here. It's going to change some of the dynamics of the game, and there could be some frustration with that. But I think the airdropped smoke is a really cool idea, and that right there sounds neat to me, because it's a way that carriers and the regular ships, I shouldn't say regular ships, but the artillery ships in the game can kind of team up and collaborate in a new way. And I love that kind of mechanic, and I wish there was more of that to kind of form those bonds between carrier players and and their artillery ship brethren, or torpedo ship brethren, or whatever. So I think that's kind of neat. Again, time will tell on how the implementation comes out and what the limitations are, how you tune them for performance, how long does the smoke last, how long do the mines last, can you counter the mines, can you what goes on there. You mentioned the chaff idea, and I think the chaff idea was really cool, or the way to kind of counter radar. What a cool way to counterplay one of the powerful mechanics in the game. But it sounds like that one, not listed here among the things they're trying. So
and like they said at the end of this, I think everybody's going to get a chance to play with this before it is really implemented, because it sounds like they're going to
here in the summer
plug in a game mode probably in a couple patches where we've done this before with subs and things in the past, right, where plug in this game mode and they get everybody an opportunity, not just test, they get everybody an opportunity to go in an isolated game mode and try out these kind of mechanics on the live server, which, as a test guy, we do get there's a small percentage of people who give us grief because they don't believe that ships should be tested on production, as testers do. And so in this scenario, rather than give a bunch of testers these wacky carriers initially and say, hey, go out and try using these things, they're going to give everybody a chance, it sounds like, to go out and try using them, which is fine. Let them collect more data.
Chat is freaking out by the fact that I'm not wearing a hat, so I had to go get one. They just cannot handle it. All of the discussion. Of course, now that I've done this, no one will chat anymore. They're like, oh, everything's good. We're back to normal. Anyway, we got a hat. Sorry, Mip, Nemesis, and everyone else. But yeah, I think that's actually kind of a cool thing. If they'll, like you suggest, I think it'll be in a special game mode, and it'll let players get their hands on this to see what it's all about, rather than feeling like they're being picked on by testers who have special boats with magic powers, right?
Look forward to a special game mode where you too can earn community points if you play and win a match, or get 3,000 base XP, or 6,000, or 10,000.
Right, or something magical.
And after the first week that it's in game, nobody will queue into it anymore because community points don't entice enough people to take part.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with like the early days submarine events.
We see it with everything, Convoy, all those modes. They always have a dumb mission chain for community points anymore. How about you update the community point store if you want people to do stuff for community points? Put some more new stuff in there, folks.
Look out, ladies and gentlemen. Skada hurt calling it like it is.
Just saying.
Or telling it like it is.
Whammy.
I know, Rick. We can't show off the haircut anymore. Every once in a while, I just need to remind people that I still have hair and it's there. But let's go on.
Continue to improve the visual and sound components of the game. In the near future, we plan to make the following changes. New inhabitants will appear on the maps: birds, underwater fauna, and the cherry on top, dolphins that can accompany your ship. 3 maps will receive new detailed textures, and there will also be improvements to some visual effects like water, shell hits, and shadows. Animations for the unfolding of antennas and funnels on aircraft carriers will be added, as well as animations for funnels of French battleship. The quality of most of the sound effects in the game will be improved.
So this is one of those things Wargaming is always tinkering and tweaking with, and the community is well known for saying, all hail, or all, praise the art department. And they are continually making this game a little more intricate, a little more pretty all the time. This is not the most beautiful video game I have ever played, but it's a really cool video game, and the details they do pick to enhance and add are really cool. So I like that they're steadily improving this while still making sure that people with lesser machines can play this game. And I don't know that I have much more to say about this other than that they're just continuing to make the game more attractive for us and more fun. I don't know about these animals. It feels like a thing that really shouldn't be happening in a war zone. Scott, what do you think about the dolphin, the pods of dolphins?
I can't talk about the fishes because I've already tested the fishes. But we can
move on if you don't want to.
The other thing, the other thing I think is cool, like the antennas moving and stuff. But what I want to see in that is I want to see on the old like dreadnought battleships, I want the torpedo netting to animate.
Oh yeah, those little
like if I slow down
on the side.
If I slow down to like 1/4 speed, I want the torpedo netting to deploy.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, because everybody asks about those, and they're like, "What are those little red rods that are on the side of the ship?"
Yeah, when are we going to deploy the paravanes? When is that animation going to occur?
Yeah, exactly. They've added the whales to the game now. It says Brand. Yeah, we've got the whale shark out there. So, in addition to some of the whales that are players of the game, we have those whales. All right, let's move on a little bit as we go.
As we mentioned in the previous Waterline, we plan to improve the equipment section in the port. We will add a system of upgrade documentation for each ship, similar to the commander's skills window.
So upgrade recommendations. So you guys, when you go into level a commander, there's the little caret, the little triangle in the corner that says this is a good skill for this boat. And some of them are good skills for those boats, or for those captains on those boats. I think this is a feature that's really helpful for newer players who are trying to get the hang of the game. Obviously, for people who've got veteran status, they've been playing for a long time, you know, we kind of know what we like already. But that's a nice thing that they've added for equipment, which honestly, you know, we're 8 years into the game. It's kind of crazy to me that they didn't have a recommendation system for this already. I don't know if there's much more to say on that, at least from my perspective. Scott, any thoughts on the recommendation system?
No, it's fine. I keep updating the UI and adding functionality that makes it easier for new people to figure out what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we'll keep going.
At the end of the summer, we plan to update the Insignia menu. In addition to the ready-made patches and emblems, there will be a new tab with the patch designer. This will allow players to create their own insignia by combining different pre-existing elements such as symbol, shape of the patch, and color of the edges, as well as customize the background color and select the texture. In addition, the rendering technology will be improved. The patches, including the existing ones, will look more realistic.
So they, as soon as he said, there's a patch designer, I had flashbacks to Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 for immediately when people all got to design their own division, or not division, but their own squad insignias, and everything immediately turned into wangs and butts. And then when I continued to watch the video, they said, no, you can pick colors, textures, and select icons, which is much more controlled. So there is a metric in software development and software design, which is, I think they call it like time to first penis or something, which is when you give users the ability to design their own logo or whatever, how long does it take your first user to create a penis and upload that to the server? And I think it would be very, very fast if they gave people the opportunity to do that. But it seems like really what they're letting us do is just have a little bit more customization on the patches. Not a huge deal for, I think, most players, but there it is. Grant says TTP. Exactly. Scott, anything on the patch designer? Yeah, that's kind of my take. I don't really worry a whole lot about the patch. The patch is not why I log in and play World of Warships.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
All right, let's go.
Warship strike activity, based on a classical battleship game, will return to World of Warships. There will be changes to the rewards, as well as to the ways of obtaining strike passes required to participate in the Warship strike. As was said in the previous Waterline, we plan to update the appearance of the settings menu and improve its usability. Operations will be added to the conditions of almost all combat missions. A special coefficient will be added for missions with those metrics that are easier to achieve in this battle type, such as damage or particular ribbons, so that the difficulty of completing such missions in operations compared to other battle types is at a comparable level.
This summer, we'll improve the Twitch drop experience for all viewers. Players will be able to receive their drops instantly in the game after claiming them on Twitch, removing the need to relog into the game client if it's already running.
Okay, so a couple of things there. Warship strike, and then you can do more missions in operations, and then Twitch drops are a little bit more integrated or a little bit more rapid or whatever. I don't have a whole lot of need for Warship strike in my life. I think it was cute that they did it once, but okay, I'm good. Not too worried about that. Scott, Warship strike thoughts, and then maybe I could have you kind of talk a little bit about
I don't even
the what are they called?
Sure.
Missions that are changing.
I don't even remember what we used Warship Strike for last time. I assume it was to get some kind of limited currency.
I think you played games and they would give you something that would allow you to play Superships. Is that right? Or is
maybe. I just remember going in there and hitting
something that you needed to get out of there.
Hitting auto and just letting it go because it wasn't worth my time to like play Battleship against a bot or a JavaScript or whatever it was. So I just like, I don't care. So like whatever. Like as far as the other thing, I think there's a lot of we have a good friend in our clan well, he's a good friend of yours. I tolerate Jimbo, but Jimbo's in the clan, and Jimbo plays a lot of operations. I believe he likes to play operations. Likes to play with his dad, which is really cool. And and I know a lot of people would do more operations if they were not, when you're trying to work on Dockyard missions or European destroyer token missions or colorful regatta missions or Incan Trail missions or Queen of Australia. Anyway, when you're trying to do those mission chains, and then you look and well, you can do a couple of them in every mode, but then you have to do some of them in ranked or randoms, and or co-op, and you can pretty much always do them in co-op, which is fine, but it's nice that they're putting them in the idea that, well, I know you'll also be able to do just as many of them in operations as you do, say, in co-op or randoms. It did sound like, though, that they're going to they're going to be either ors, so it'll be like a string of things you can do in randoms, co-ops, and then it'll be like, it'll be like, get 1 million damage with Ohotnik torpedoes, or in operations, get 2 million damage. And that, why? Who cares? Who cares, man? Just
well, I don't know if it's going to be like that, or if it's going to be like, in operations, you get 85% credit or whatever. Because I've seen people post score screens from operations where the mines got 400,000 damage. Like normal non-Unicum players have posted these screens. So, I mean, they're looking to balance that with minutes of play for the rewards. So, I know what they're doing, but
you could talk to even me or G. You could talk to our friend GMAC about this, who's a straight co-op main. I can generate that much damage with the right ships in co-ops in the same amount of time it takes me to do one operation with a bunch of guys who I have to depend on not to totally boffo it, right?
Sure.
And so I don't know that you need to meter it for operations mains when I could just go into co-ops and go ham in and get 150,000 damage really easy, and then do that 3 times and have that same amount of damage. So there's something to be said about why they're doing that.
I'm curious to see if they'll do some metering for co-ops or not. It didn't sound like they were doing that here, but maybe they would consider that. They didn't talk about it though. So
that's a slope I hope they don't go down. I don't want them to go down a slope of that if they say, well, they already have. There's always 1 or 2 missions in a chain that you can only do in random or ranked and stuff like that, right? And so it's kind of whatever, just let everybody do. My biggest gripe is that there's these onerous missions and then they never work in clan battles. It's why not? What are you so worried about?
Yeah. Well, and luckily they added a bunch of those missions. Not all of them, of course. The ones that are based on obviously get 2,500 battle or XP, base XP in a single battle. Obviously, that doesn't make sense in clan battles, because if you win, you get that. Yeah. But whereas in a random battle, that's a real achievement. It's a bigger achievement. So, I don't know. I like the idea that what they're saying. I like part of this, at least, which is, hey, if you like to play operations, you are absolutely welcome to earn these rewards now. I think that's cool. We'll see how the scaling goes, right? I think that hopefully the scaling is at least player fair, if not reasonable or favorable, but it'll probably just be fair. And if it comes out negative, then people will rail about it, and we'll find out what happens after that.
And again, I'll reserve judgment to see how it gets implemented. Might be good, might be bad, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. This. Okay, and then the last thing was Twitch drops. Yeah, so I actually experienced this week. I got a Twitch drop, and I was playing the game, and I had to log out of the game and log back in order to get the drop. That is getting fixed. You're gonna be, when you get a Twitch drop, that's gonna be added to your game, and you'll just have it live. You don't have to quit the game to come back in and get your prize. So what's cool about that is what a lot of players I think try to do, or used to try to do until they learned how this worked, is they would activate a Twitch drop while they were in the game because they wanted to see what they got. And you'll be able to do that now because it just didn't work that way before. So better integration with Twitch, and that's cool, I think. Okay, let's move on. We got a little bit more to go. Half a bit more to go.
Hello, welcome to our temporary office in
Skada, it's Emil.
Belgrade. Why temporary? Because as we speak, Wargaming is putting together a new modern office equipped with everything we need to work hard and play harder. We'll definitely show it off to you, but not yet. In the meantime, we're here in the area of New Belgrade, and we're a bit crowded together. Here we have the World of Warships team, the Legends team, and even the tanks. and also some announced projects, but we're not ready to talk about them yet. And we're already more than 500 people. By the way, here are two views that you see in most of our videos. Here we have the best one, both a beautiful wall and an even more beautiful art department. And we also shoot sometimes here in the kitchen, with this beautiful wall behind me, some apples and oranges, and this noisy coffee machine. In the new office, we'll have a dedicated filming studio, which means we will stop distracting these guys from working on their ships, and we'll be able to produce the same quality videos as we did in the past. And besides, we'll be able to diversify the quantity and quality of the videos produced. While we're on the topic, why don't you write in the comments section what kind of videos you would like to see on our official channel going forward? Well, our tour is over, but in the meantime, I will leave you with our general manager to tell you more about our future office.
Okay, so that's Emil. He did a tour of the building there he called it New Belgrade, which must be a neighborhood of Belgrade. I don't know a lot about Belgrade, haven't visited. That was the office. Now, last time they did one of these, you and I were like, is that room the whole office? And we joked that the reason they did this segment was because we said that their office was small. And Emil's like, it's not small. And he toured us through the whole thing, which I thought was
I don't
hilarious.
know. It still looked like one floor, and when he like walked through the ships, tanks, and legends teams, it looked like 20 programmers. So I know they're not giving them legitimate cubicles; they're all just kind of sitting on little hovels. But they talk about how they got like 500 employees.
Yeah, I can't remember if you just said it or if the next guy does, but I was going to bring that up too. 500.
Oh, dang it! I've ruined it. So anyway,
No, I
but they
don't
talk about how
remember
they got
what it
like.
was. No, you're good.
But like, if they got 500 employees, I'm guessing this is the floor where there's like 75 guys that do the programming and do all the art and do the testing. And then on the next couple of floors, there's like 400 guys that are in charge of figuring out how to get money out of everybody around the world. That's all I can figure, because like I didn't see 500 guys in that developer pit.
No, I mean, obviously there are going to be spaces where they don't want to do filming. There are going to be spaces that don't look as cool too. Like even in our business, right? We don't have.
You're trying to say that like
you know.
accounts payable and accounts receivable doesn't have cool artwork on
That's
the wall?
right. Marlene, Joanne, and Steve in accounts payable don't have the most film-worthy office, right?
Herbert Kornfeld, yeah.
Exactly. But no, I thought this was kind of cool. They walked around. I liked his comment about the noisy coffee machine, because if you've ever made a video before, things in your home that you don't think make noise will suddenly just be making all kinds of noise and shouting at you. So for me, as a YouTube video person, that was hilarious. A little joke there for those of us who make videos. But I thought this was kind of neat. Obviously, walking around, showing us what's going on, and I like that he did mention they're going to get their own studio for making stuff. Bowmaster, I think, said he looks like the guy you send out to get donuts and coffee. Emil here is their lead YouTube guy. He's in charge of YouTube content. So if there's a video posted to YouTube, he's coordinated it. If there's a contest on YouTube or something like that,
This is the guy.
Shorts, he does all that stuff.
Every time you watch a nutshell video, every time you watch one of those new videos, this is the guy that you want to ask why every time the spokesmodel changes.
That's right.
What does Emil have to hide? And what happened to the previous nutshell girl? I really liked her, and now there's a new one, and I'm not as big a fan.
Not as big.
I've got a lot of questions for Emil. That's all.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, that is a great question. Emil, why the high turnover? Right? Why the high turnover?
Yeah. What's going on there?
What's going on, Emil? Emil, next Waterline. I want you to answer our next question. No, absolutely. Let's go and talk. This next dude is the general manager, and he films out of doors.
Hello, everyone. We are standing here in front of and listening the cars. Okay. Hello, everyone. We are standing here in front of our future Wargaming office in Belgrade. In just several months, this brand new cozy office will become a home of World of Warships team. More than 500 of our colleagues will do the full scope of game development, including 2D art, 3D art, programming, design, sound studios, and all the other things that building legendary games consist of. Starting 6 months ago, we grew to more than 500 people and became the biggest game studio in Serbia. Understanding that there is a lot of interest for our company from Serbia, with hundreds of people interested in our company on LinkedIn and other networks, we are more than happy to welcome you to visit us here, meet us, and maybe start working with us. Welcome, guys.
So that's like the second time they talked about how this is a place you can come and work. In the last one, they said, "Hey, why don't you come work in Wargaming?" This one, they just said, "Hey, there's a lot of interest in our company. We're growing. We're doing all kinds of cool stuff. We're all about having you, be interested and stuff like that." So that was kind of interesting. That looked like a picture of the new building where they're going to be. So I don't know that I have a ton to say about that other than there's the general manager of the coding place in Serbia. Scott, any thoughts about that? Maybe about the F1 sound effects. I don't know.
Well, yeah. First off, like, that's obviously an injected automobile sound effect.
I assume so. There was probably
unless somebody in Belgrade's driving by like in a crotch rocket or
200 miles an hour in an F1 car.
The new building, if that is the actual new building, looks pretty fine. It seems to be in behind a building that is labeled Belgrade Airplane or Airport City or something.
Airport City Belgrade, which I was totally going to Google, but I didn't do it.
Yeah, no, I feel like this is a situation where you could have a crossover with what's her name that plays the map game, that friend of yours. Like, I feel like that'd be a good thing.
Oh yeah, leg up, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
leg up.
She'd figure it out real quick.
Yeah, she'd know where it was in that map game. The only other comment I had on that, once again, like you said, they're pitching, hey, you could come visit, come work for us. And we've talked about this a little bit without getting into geopolitical stuff too much, but like, Serbia is not part of the EU. And so, like, my understanding about game technology in Europe is that you've got a lot of folks in Scandinavia, Germany, and a lot in Poland that do game development now, all EU countries. And so I wonder what it's like if you're working in a EU country, if you're that inclined to go to a non-EU country and work. I just curious, but I don't know, And as far as the general manager, I love his wardrobe. As a manager myself, I like his wardrobe because he's not dressed like a car salesman. He's just got like a t-shirt and jeans on.
He's just chilling, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not got a sport coat with leather patches and pair of khakis.
No pinky rings. Nothing. No tie, no pinky rings. Nothing.
One of those,
no ostentatious getup.
One of those blue shirts, but for some reason the collar is
with
still
a white collar.
Yeah. What is the deal with that? Anyway.
Suspenders.
No, I appreciated that. I think people who work in tech, we need to hold on to that casual wardrobe as long as we can, because they're slowly, the larger the business, the more they want to take that away from you. But definitely appreciated t-shirts, casual pants, and sneakers from GM of Wargaming Development. Pretty good stuff. Okay, let's continue on as we go.
Early access to a branch of Soviet submarines will begin in the autumn. Their current gameplay concept gears them toward countering other submarines. Their acoustic torpedoes have low damage but good range and speed, and their standard torpedoes have high damage and range. Moreover, all submarines in the branch have player-controlled main battery guns.
In mid-autumn, a second branch.
Okay, Soviet destroyers are coming. He said they're for counter-submarine operations. And then he described that the homing torpedoes have excellent range but don't do a lot of damage, and then the other torpedoes both do a lot of damage and have excellent range. So of the four things, only three of them are good, and one of them is bad, whereas normally it's a 2 and 2, but the Soviet ones, what is this crap?
It turns
and a
out,
controllable deck gun, BT does. Yeah.
Also main battery. But yeah, I love how he describes that, where he's like, so they've got high speed, low damage homing torpedoes, and they also have high damage, long range, non-homing torpedoes. I'm like, wow, what's the downside?
Yeah.
All he needed to say was that their surface concealment was 1 kilometer and that they have Caterpillar drives off the Red October to move around very fast and quiet or something.
Caterpillar drive? Yeah, exactly. Now, I mean, obviously, we like to laugh and poke about the Soviet bias or whatever in the game. But that does sound like a pretty capable group of submarines. I have been joking ever since they announced the concept that, because you may remember way back when they first did our first test, we had Soviet submarines in the game. Yep. Some people played them, and I said, well, they're obviously going to come out with the American and German ones first so they can figure out how submarines work, so that way when the Soviet ones come out, they can be the best. And that's exactly the path that's happened. We'll see what happens. It was German and American instead of Japanese or whatever, but but here they are, right?
Yeah,
so
and somehow
we'll
they
see when
slipped
those
the
come.
UK subs in between there, but
They need a little more practice to get the Soviet ones right.
yeah, they needed to figure out exactly how to make the most overpowered one. They got the Gatto done now, so they
Yeah.
got some good strong ideas on how to make an overpowered submarine, and so now we're gonna get a line of them.
Yeah. GMAC, I haven't seen that. I'm a little bit behind on official streams, so I'll probably try to watch a couple of those to get caught up on some of this. But as we continue on, we're going to talk about the Japanese battlecruiser line that's coming. We've got a tier 8 battlecruiser split that is coming, and these guys cover this. This is actually not the newest of news, but it's probably still worth looking at.
Two Japanese battleships will appear in the game. It will consist of tier 8 to 10 ships that we have already announced in the development blog. But in short, these will be battle cruisers with accurate and long-range Japanese guns, with calibers ranging from 410mm at tier 8 to 457mm at tiers 9 and 10. These ships will have good concealment, but not the greatest survivability. This early access will also feature the winning design of Yumihari Camouflage Contest in the form of a permanent camouflage for this new tier 8 Japanese battleship. We want to thank all of you who participated in creating these fantastic designs.
You guys may remember I did a stream where I was fiddling around with one of those. I never did submit it, and obviously the designs that were on the top voting list were fantastic and would have blown mine out of the water. It was fun to do, but I'm not up to the level of the competition that we saw there. I did notice that when you look at those three ships, the most detailed and defined picture was for the tier 10. And the middle one, the tier 9, was the next most refined, and the tier 8 had the least defined features and the least developed image, which kind of leads me to believe, or at least to hunch, that perhaps they start with the tier 10 and work their way down. I don't know. I thought that was just kind of interesting. No real evidence of that other than me trying to read between the lines that may or may not exist there.
Yeah.
Skada, we've talked about these ships a little bit already, but what do you think of Bungo and Friends?
Haven't played them yet. I don't like Congo, and they look like high tier Congos. But whatever. Like, hey, at least they're not going to have big overmatched guns, right?
Wait a minute.
Oh,
They
the tier
are.
10. The tier 10's got like 10 barrels of 457, right? And so
And they're supposed to be pretty accurate too, he said. So
and
we'll see what accurate means, but
you think like St. Vincent has that. It has 9 barrels of that, pretty accurate. Thunder has 8 barrels of that. That thing has 10 barrels of it laid out, Japanese style, and I mean more. It's probably gonna have like a 2.0, 2.05 Sigma or some silliness, and they're gonna say, well, but they're squishy, and they're probably not gonna be that squishy. I mean, they'll probably be fun to play.
they won't be that squishy at 24 kilometers.
I bet it 10 barrels on that tier 10 that it doesn't have a reload that's over 30 seconds. I bet it has like a 30-second reload, or maybe a 31.
32.
Whereas you
yeah,
think
31.
about like Vermont, and it's got 12 of those guns, and it has this like punitively long reload, right? And there's this disconnect where or Heisen even, that has similar like 410s at tier 9, but because it has 12 barrels, it's got a really long reload. But on that tier 10, because it's got 10 barrels, I bet it won't have a really long reload. I bet it'll be like 30, and I bet you'll be able to. There'll be no reason to take like range mod in slot 6, because they'll already have like 21, 22 kilometer range or something.
Yeah.
So you throw reload on there, Bob's your uncle. They'll probably be fun to play.
A lot of questions remain. When they announced those, we didn't get the stat block basically that comes with the ships. So we're waiting to see what that's going to look like. I suspect we'll have it here in a couple of months maybe.
That's why I can fully and totally speculate about it, because
this is a rare treat for you.
we have seen nothing. We have seen nothing of these ships in test yet. They're still very much not there. So I could just pontificate all I want about what I think they're going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good time. It's a really good time right now. Let's go ahead and see what Mikhail here has to say about Superships. I like the way he's holding his hands. It's like he's coming up with a scheme or a plot.
This autumn, the game will feature 2 new Superships, Italian cruiser Piemonte and American battleship Maine.
Yeah, it's a big watch.
They will inherit the gameplay styles of Venezia and Montana, respectively.
Also, this
Venezia and Montana Superships, basically. I don't have much to say other than here they come. I don't know if you've got anything to say about that idea that's coming.
Yeah, a lot of speculation in test land because we haven't seen a hide and a hair of any of that stuff yet either. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about the prospect of a Tier 11 Venezia.
Could be real sinister, couldn't it? That's the
You know, you
Venezia is
start.
a slapper.
Yeah, this Tier 10 Venezia is already a murder boat, so like you can only assume it's like it's gonna be similar, but like my dream scenario is that it's like tanky like a Napoli, which Venezia totally isn't. So it's more like a Napoli, but it has like 12 guns somehow, and they're like 254 SAP or something, and I don't know. I think it'll be cool. I'm curious to see what it is. The Tier 10 or the Tier 11 Montana is the other one, and that's one that I'm curious about because what do you do? Like,
Yeah, how do you make Montana like more Montana?
Like,
Because it's already very Montana, right?
yeah. So if you give it 457s, then it's just fast Vermont,
Or like super Ohio, like
right? Or it's Ohio with more barrels. Like, so where? I mean, ultimately, I'd be curious to see what that is or what. I mean, because if you look at Devastation, the one they announced earlier in the video, which is the Tier 11 Conqueror, it's really just more Conqueror. Like the guns aren't bigger.
kind of like Clausewitz is more Hindenburg, right?
Yeah, like the Devastation doesn't have like 457s. It has the same size guns as Conqueror. It just has 16 of them. So does that makes me wonder if Super Montana will just look like Montana, but with like the 4-barrel turrets that they made for Louisiana.
Oh gosh, 16-barrel one.
Yes,
No,
that's what I think. That's my guess, is that it's 16 barrels of US 406
That's
with
gross.
a 30-31 second reload. That's my guess.
Stop it! You get out of town.
That's my guess.
I understand. Everyone, remember what Skada guessed. Let's go.
Autumn, players can expect the traditional activities of the season. Our favorite game will turn 8 years old, and we will prepare a retro-style special event, a lot of rewards, and new content, including a new collection. We also want to thank those who took part in the voting to select the ship for which we created the themed permanent retro camouflage. And of course, the most stylish event, Black Friday. What could be better than to stand on the helm of a luxurious black ship and sink the enemy? Do it with the backdrop of an epic song. My favorite is AC/DC's Black in Black. As for what ships will be added to the Black Fleet this year, stay tuned. Till then, try and guess in the comment section below which ships will appear this Black Friday.
So, first of all, for that section, they had a lot of 80s style, aggressive rock music in the background, which I thought was interesting. Skada, why don't you unpack that section for us? We talked about black ships. We talked about the birthday event. He said a retro style event, which is kind of interesting. I don't know what that could mean.
Maybe it means that that the birthday event's retro because the super containers you get for clearing tier 10s are the good super containers from last month.
Hey-o.
That would be retro. Hey oh. No, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either. He said retro, and I thought that's
so
weird.
like I've only been playing since like the 5th anniversary or the 4th maybe. So I would be curious, what were the birthday events like for the 2nd, 3rd, you know what I mean, like before I joined, because they've always had like the snowflake or whatever you call them since I've been playing, the thing that you knock off. There's the 5th or the 6th anniversary was the one that had that whole page of like camos for like a umpity squat like tier 7s, and that one I thought was pretty good. Like you could get all those camos for like York and Akatsuki and all those things. I thought that was a good one. I don't really remember what last year's was, to be honest with you. So like I'm curious what a retro one is. If it's like, hey, here's a retro one. You get a patch for 8 years and sit on it, Potsy. That's all you get. Like I don't know what would be retro. So
when they did the one with those kind of teal and blue camos, that was like the gamer one, right? Because there was that PC on the desk. That was like gamery. Before that desk was the ship designers, which was kind of like old timey, like a model builder. Maybe it's retro, like it's gonna be like an 80s theme with an old like Commodore 64 on the desk or something. I don't know. And I think that it could, if it's 80s theme, it could be some cool camos, is really all I'm thinking. Sorry.
Yeah, well, you're not going to use either of those desks anymore because they said Lesta on them, so they got to make new. They got to make a new port for it. That's
It's
one
going to
thing
say
for
New
sure.
Belgrade or whatever. Yeah.
One thing it's gonna say is Belgrade Airport or something. It's gonna be completely
The
different.
real Wargaming says, "Let's go retro."
But yeah, you know,
Yeah,
you got to get to the
that's a thing.
you got to get to the worst kept secret there that my boss. So the guy in the hat, by the way, he's the king of the testers. That's like all of us super testers. That's the guy we work for now.
He's Lord Testerman.
Yeah, I know. I can't pronounce his real name. I only know his game name or his name on Discord. I'm not going to share it with people. But yeah. So like that's Tester Man. So it's kind of funny to me that he's in these videos. But like he does his whole thing where he's like, "Oh, we'll have my favorite, black in black." Okay, yeah. Yeah, so clearly the tier 9 black will be a B ship this time around.
I think people are thrilled about that.
you know.
And now that it's back in the coal store, that's not even crazy, right?
No.
It's a totally normal thing to do, but I think people are going to be excited about that. Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. I'm curious what else we'll see in terms of black ships this year. But if they're looking for like a flagship moneymaker or whatever, I think black might be a good one for them to pick, even though it's available for free. So remember that black ships are a good deal, but anything you can get for free is better to get for free, unless you just have to have that black camouflage, which you cannot get on the regular USS Black.
Yeah,
so,
like we've gotten
bear that in mind.
Napoli Black and Yoshino Black, 2 tier 10 coal boats that they sold, you know, for a pretty premium
tons
price.
of money. Yeah.
And you know, they did those, and so you know, this one obviously this is a similar thing where it's an expensive tier 9 coal ship because of the Steel Legend status. It costs more coal than Yoshino or Napoli, right? So who knows what, you know, it'll probably be priced at an expensive premium Black Friday price.
Yeah.
But you know, with all Black Friday events, here's your opportunity if you don't have Alaska or Jean Bart, if they bring those back, which they have been doing.
Massachusetts. Actually, Massachusetts Black is a good deal if you want to buy a premium ship.
There's your opportunity. Asashio, some stuff like that.
Yeah. Some good pricing there. And the thing is for the boats that you can't get for free or that you can't get anymore, the Black Friday ships, I will admit, are a reasonable price, or at least a fair price compared to normal market prices for these things. And again, the ones you just can't get anymore, it's the only way to get it.
I was hoping for Kleber CLRB, but I'm not sure they'll get that one out in time.
Canoe Torps said, Haida needs some love. Can you imagine a Haida B where it keeps the maple leaf camo, but it's black and white? That'd be so
No,
cool.
but I can imagine a Huron B.
Ugh, less good. Huron's fine, but not as good as Haida B. Okay, let's keep going. You agreed to do this, and we're keeping you longer than we should.
Go for it.
As we announced in the previous issue of Waterline, we considered Airship Escort as one of the candidates to be added to random battles on a permanent basis. The last iteration of Airship Escort was perceived quite well, so this autumn we will be adding Airship Escort to random battles as a permanent mode after some polishing and tweaking.
This year, for Halloween, we plan to prepare a new nightmare operation.
Oh, sorry. I was typing welcome Raiders. Welcome Raiders. We've had 2 raids. I will speak with you directly in a moment. What was that about? That was about... I know I'm all Halloween all the time. What was this section called? Airship Escort. Airship Escort is coming to randoms, and that is something that I think people are excited about and also not excited about. One of the reasons why we liked Airship Escort is because we could take specific ships that we knew were going to be in Airship Escort and play the crap out of them in that mode, whereas now it's going to be mixed into random, so I'm going to choose some boat that I would not normally be excited about having an Airship Escort, and I'll have to play Airship Escort in it. On the one hand, I'm fine with this because I think that sounds like an interesting challenge. On the other hand, I think it does take away some of the magic that people really liked about Airship Escort. One of those things being, of course, the idea that it didn't matter. Like if you're a stats nerd, playing Airship Escort was just fun, right? Skada, thoughts about bringing Airship Escort into randoms? I know we've had a couple of conversations about this.
I'm so happy, and I'm not happy because I think Airship Escort's cool. I'm happy because I want to see people play Airship Escort not in the right ships. I'm so excited to see that.
You're just like, ooh, yes.
That's been the thing I've been excited about for months since we talked about how they were talking. We knew when they pushed this back, oh, people love this. They're saying how much they love it. They're totally going to put it in randoms, and now they're going to do it. And I was the contrarian back then that said, oh, you think this is fun now, but you're not going to think it's fun that time when you ready up a Musashi and all of a sudden you're in freaking airship battles. And so I am so excited to watch people squirm and be unhappy about their ship selection when they get put in that mode. I'm so happy.
Some people, Master Bruce, just like to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
That's not the right accent, but you're doing the thing.
Yeah, that is exactly what this is. I'm so stoked for that reason.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to some Schadenfreude there.
Yeah, I'm imagining a champagne, for example, in that mode. Anything snipery is going to be less comfortable in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'll be great. Can't wait. Everybody who loved that mode is going to turn on it so fast. It's going to be awesome.
I know. And they'll have a riot on their hands. At the end of the day, guys, we do have to remember, Airship Escort is fun. It's a good mode. They did a good thing, and it took them a long time to get there, right? They tried convoys, they tried a bunch of stuff. It is a good mode, and I think if we can take that pivot from I know what I'm getting into, it doesn't affect my stats, and I'm just going to play brawly ships, to I want to play this fun mode, and now the new challenge is, how do you play Musashi or Yamato or Champagne? How do you do that in that mode and be successful? I think that's an interesting challenge that will frustrate players, but I am actually not terribly opposed to it coming in there.
I'm excited.
Sort of cartoony.
Most fun I had in that mode last time around, I was in Gibraltar, and I don't think anybody would be like, Gibraltar's a great airship escort ship. But I had a lot of fun in a couple of matches in Gibraltar in that mode, and so I'm all for weird. I'm stoked that it's not just going to be a bunch of dudes in Schlieffen and a bunch of dudes in whatever Jinan or something with deep waters and a bunch of Yu Yangs or whatever it was, right? Gunboats. I'm excited that it's going to be the random ship complement. What I'm hopeful for is that it's not locked in at like tier 9, tier 10, but that seems to be the way they do these things. I would like to see that mode like when we queue up 5s. I would love to see Omahas in convoy or in airship escort mode.
I would too. Obviously, I don't think the mode is balanced for that. My guess is it's going to be an 8, 9, 10 thing. But we'll see how it goes. One of my best games ever in airship escort, I was in Austin. And I was just darting out in and out of islands and just machine gunning fools to death. And it was amazing. I think I had 4 kills, and I played that game with Jimbo, that friend of mine, which you tolerate. It was an amazing battle. And I was just laughing the whole time, just off streamed, but just laughing. It was so good. So, some of those boats that you might not think, this is an airship escort boat, can be fun. And I think it'll be more, you'll be able to enjoy those boats more when it isn't you versus 6 Schlieffens, right? So we'll see. I do have some reservations about this where I'm like, I did like the idea that it was just silly and I can pick that mode and just enjoy it, and that part is gone. I think that's a cost, right? But if it's coming to randoms, it's coming to randoms, and I guess we got to just get ready for the idea. I like this better than Arms Race, which I thought was weird.
I still don't like Arms Race, so I'm fine. I'd rather have this than Arms Race.
Same. Okay, 2 more segments to go. Let's see what the next
This year,
one is.
for Halloween, we plan to prepare a new Nightmare operation, which will be the final chapter in the confrontation between Intanian forces and the ships of the Twilight Fleet. There will be a couple of interesting new mechanics as well, but more details on that later.
Remember the animated commanders that
Okay, the final confrontation between the Itanian ships and the Nightmare Fleet, or whatever he called them. I can't imagine World of Warships without them making some weird, gross ship skin every Halloween. They always do it. What do they mean, the final? Maybe it's just the end of a narrative chapter, but I find that interesting that they called it out as the final confrontation. But other than that, what I got from that is, hey, there's going to be another Halloween mode, and that's fine. I don't usually go out for those too hard. I have had fun playing all of the Halloween modes they've done over the years. They're really great when you get a big group together. So I do appreciate that they do something special for us for Halloween. So I guess we'll see what this year brings.
Yeah, one thing I would say in that footage they showed, and it may just be because they pulled footage together, or it may have been intentional, but not all of the stuff they showed in that footage was from Halloween. There was like Crocosaurs, but there was also like the big sea monster guy and the Amagi camo that's more like the other camo, and that was from that giant battle royale mode with like laser beams and crap that you hated. And so like
I did hate that. It's true.
I don't know if they mixed in that content in that footage because it was just content that wasn't normal looking, or if it's because the Halloween mode is going to actually mix with the giant battle royale mode that I actually like. I actually kind of like that mode as a diversion. So I'll be curious to see what it is, but yeah, I can't imagine there won't be some kind of Halloween thing every year. I mean,
Yeah,
it seems
it
weird.
is
They
so
got those
weird.
still got those pumpkin crates. I mean, they got to get those out there.
They gotta put something in those pumpkins. Was I'm thinking about that battle royale mode. Was it really not around Halloween when they did that? I don't remember.
Maybe the first time, but there was one time specifically where they brought it back, and it was like a February March kind of thing.
Okay.
And it wasn't. And I'm not talking about the battle royale mode that's like the water world, like burning tires mode.
Yeah, not that one.
It was the other one where it was like PvE and PvP mixed, and you went in and you could make divisions on the fly
And, like,
in the
get
mode.
get to the extraction zone. And
Yeah,
everything.
and break
Yeah.
teams on the fly in the mode. There was a lot of interesting mechanics they tested in that just never turned into anything in the real game. And so it might have been a Halloween thing at one point, but I do remember it was specifically not like
That's
at
not the
other
only
time.
time they've done it.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Well, let's check this last section out. This one's about animated commanders, which we had during the Ducky event.
First appeared in Troubles in the Hot Tub event. As we saw, players appreciated them, and so did we. We are happy to announce that we are currently working on improving the animated commanders feature, and we plan to introduce such commanders in our game in future updates.
That's all for now. Good luck on the 7 Seas.
Stay tuned.
So animated commanders, you could have an animated commander portrait. That sounds cool. What the developer dude, Mikhail there said, it sounded like he said, we're going to add some, maybe we'll add some commanders like that in the future. What I didn't hear them say was we're going to go back and make all the old commanders animated, right? Now they might,
Right.
But it seems like maybe what they'll do is they'll introduce some new commanders and they'll be like, hey, these new special animated commanders, don't you want to grind 3 million XP on those? And they'll try to make those available to us.
Yeah.
Brand said animated weeb commanders will sell 100%.
Yep.
That is true.
first
I mean,
thing
I think
the-
they'll do whatever, but
First thing I thought of, straight up, is what Brand said there is that boy howdy, the next time they do an Azure Lane collab, those are going to be the animated commanders, and
Yeah.
those that sect of fandom will just pay for that.
they'll just go crazy, won't they?
I think if it's not that, it would be like we're going to go in and we're going to animate the unique commanders, maybe the seasoned commanders. You're not going to go
Some of
through
the
and just
special ones, yeah.
You're not going to animate Claude Paul, my 12-point US commander on the Pensacola. You know what I mean? Like it's,
Yeah.
you know, I think if you
Yeah.
did any of it, it's going to be like the unique commanders. But who knows? You know, they may save it for collab events or even made up events that they do, like, you know, the captain of the Star Edinburgh and the Star Kitakaze, they're
Yeah,
animated.
yeah.
You know, so well, wait and see.
That's my theory is they'll use that to basically peddle new content to us, right? And that's fine. It would be cool if they went back and animated, you know, Halsey, so that he'd like, you know, I don't know, shake his fist when things go bad or whatever. I don't know, whatever. But like, it'd be kind of cool. But whether or not I think they will, probably less likely than them introducing new commanders that have animations to them. But that's it. That is the Waterline. Scott, a final thought. This was a shorter Waterline than what we had the last several times. It used to be that Waterline was like a half hour long. This was 11 minutes almost. Obviously, we turned it into a whole production, but that's what we got here. Just 11 minutes of content.
One thing I think, and I've been thinking of this for a while, you need to make a new Clyde avatar that's the speculation zone Clyde, that's a little Clyde head with a tinfoil hat.
That'd be
Part of me wants to say that this was a shorter Waterline because the pipeline of shared content from the separation from Lesta may be starting to dry up.
With your
Maybe-
foil
maybe-
hat on is what you're saying. Yeah,
that's my tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
I would say as a guy working test, I'd say otherwise, man, because they are just cranking out stuff for us to test. But
It's been an unreasonable amount of content over the last year.
yeah, you know, there seemed to be less stuff there for them to announce, or at least maybe unique stuff for them to announce. But I'm glad they do the Waterline videos, and you know, I heard a lot of people say, oh, they liked this one better because it didn't have the Emil and Stacy from last one. I thought Emil and Stacy did a great job last time.
Yeah,
I thought these
did
two
too.
gentlemen did fine this time. I think Boggy and Escort did it not long ago, and I thought they did fine too. You know, and I think it's cool that they just kind of keep rotating around. I wish our friend Chegg would have gotten to do one before his time was up, but you know, is what it is. So
Yeah. Downriver Rick said something that I was thinking too, which was they didn't spend 20 minutes reviewing old content. In this one, they briefly said, hey, we already told you Spanish cruisers are coming. We already told you about these super ships. Okay, here's the new stuff, right? And that saved a lot of time. And I bet you they got that as feedback before. I know when we made this video, we were like, seriously, we're 15 minutes into this. We're still talking about old stuff. Like, so, you know, I liked that they lightened the load on the old stuff. I think for players who are coming to the game fresh, the review is great. But for those of us that avidly watch all of the content and pay attention, which isn't the largest share of everyone, you know, that content's already there. We can already go find that. So this was, I thought, nice that they dove right into the new stuff.
And
got
I really feel like they've ramped up their YouTube offerings. You know, Nutshell was a thing that's new, where basically once a week, here's a recap video of like what's going on this week, kind of thing, what's coming next week, and they do those consistently. I don't even watch those. But that's a thing they do.
I don't need
you know,
to
they do those. They
attention.
they still do the video where they talk about the next patch. Obviously, that's a video we're interested in. They're doing these videos, which is kind of a behind the curtain development kind of thing. This is kind of a mainstream encapsulation of dev blog news, right? So if you don't pay attention to dev blogs, and then obviously they make a gob of Twitch content. We watch, you know, we watch parts of the NA stream, we watch parts of the EU stream when we can, because you know they seem to have most of the content that's new on those, and so yeah, I do feel like they have more offerings even than they did a couple years ago. And honestly, like, you know, we don't watch all of it. Like, there's a lot of it, and I just don't watch all of it. So like, you know, there's stuff I miss. I do not miss Dasha, if anybody's concerned. I actually like that those videos are now done by English native speaking actors. That's just me.
No.
But I also the thing I miss is the videos they were making with the ship comparisons, where we got the Shimakaze sausage joke. I'm bummed that we don't get those anymore.
The Rico Chet videos.
Rico Chet, because those videos were rough. And
I think what happened is they hired Emil and they said, Emil, what are you going to make your top priorities? And Emil went, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of Rico and Chet. Gone. And now he's like making kick-ass stuff with all these.
He was like, he's like, nobody is into that. Nobody is into that except people who are laughing at it, and it went away.
And Neil's like, listen, all of you boomers who are watching and laughing at the Rico Chet videos, we're not doing that crap anymore. I'm 18 and I know it's cool, or whatever Emil said. I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, check out my Insta and subscribe to the YouTube content to get more missions that you used to get for free. Peace out.
Yeah. No, I really do like the new host. I think it was I can't remember the name of our viewer. Let me scroll, see if I can find his name. It was Gutratspume had said Natalie was the original In a Nutshell host. And I kind of wish Natalie was still around. She did a fantastic job.
Me too.
I don't
Top
dislike
shelf.
Stasha, who is the new one. She does fine. There's Tina, I think, is the one, the North America version of that, who does some of those videos as well. So we've kind of had this parade of new folks, and obviously I think they do all three of those.
I like Natalie,
job, but I'm bummed
I like
that
Natalie. I like Natalie, and I like Jules, and I miss both
Jules.
of them.
That's right, we missed Jules too. Yeah, she's been around.
Yeah, I loved her in the Eurythmics, and I thought she was great in World of Warships content. So I was bummed to see her go.
Something Missionary Man, I think. Trying to think of another Eurythmics song. I'm sure there are many. Well, Skada, thanks for joining me to talk about the Waterline. And chat, thanks for being here. You guys were very active. I tried to kind of keep an eye on what was going on over there. I don't know that I responded to very many comments, but I think you guys enjoyed this based on what I just saw in chat. If you like this kind of thing, let us know in the comments below. If you have thoughts about what you saw in Waterline, we would love to know what you think. We'll try to answer as many of those comments down there as we can. And of course, if you enjoy this kind of content, why don't you come hang out with us on Twitch, where we do it live if you're watching this on YouTube. So come on over to twitch.tv/ClydePlaysLive. We do this kind of stream 3 times a week, and we'd love to have you be a part of that. Of course, if you prefer the produced content of YouTube, there is going to be a continued parade of that as we make content over here. Got some new videos coming up that I'm really excited to share with you guys, so do stay tuned to the YouTube channel, which you can find at youtube.com/ClydePlays. And of course, if those two things are things that you enjoy, you might enjoy hanging out with us over on the Discord, which Bowmaster has just put a link to in the chat right up here above me, and I'll make sure is in the description of this video on YouTube as well. Come hang out with us on Discord. It's where we keep our conversation going between streams. We talk a lot about World of Warships pretty much every day, pretty much every week. in that Discord. And so if you'd like to be a part of those conversations with all the wonderful people that you know from the YouTube comments, as well as from the Twitch chat, come join us over there. With all of that said, we are going to wrap up the news here. And thank you a ton for watching. And we'll catch you next time we do. Be cool, be nice, and we'll see you in the next battle, video or live stream, captains. Goodbye.
This has been the news on Clyde Plays Live.